what's going on, guys? SteelTwins back at you with another full mock draft.
Yeah, man, so let's just get right into it. With the 20th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Byron Murphy, cornerback out of Washington. Now, honestly, if both Devons are gone, which is very likely, incredibly likely, is almost inevitable at this point. If both Devons are gone, honestly, I feel like that the position that the Steelers have to address and have to go after and need to go after is cornerback. And honestly, Byron Murphy, if he is there at 20, could arguably be the best cornerback available and arguably the best player available overall. Now, I know that we've said that if both Devons are gone, we could go after A.J. Brown or a Noah Fant or a T.J. Hockenson or maybe even a Mac Wilson or go edge or whatever, you know. But honestly, man, we really need to stack up on the secondary and especially at cornerback because...
I mean, we already did with the free agent signing of Steven Nelson from the Chiefs, which, by the way, I'm real excited to see how he does in a Steelers uniform this upcoming season alongside Joe Hayden.
Yes, and couldn't agree more. However, man, we still need to stack on corner. We still need good depth. We still need guys that we can develop because although we love Joe Hayden, but it seems like every year he gets sidelined with some sort of injury.
There's always that possibility that any of our defensive backs could get injured.
Yes.
And if that does happen, knock on wood, we have the possibility of having to depend on Artie Burns again, and we all don't want that to happen.
Absolutely not. So that's why we go after someone like Byron Murphy, who we can, like I said, obviously develop and everything. And you know, whether someone gets injured or maybe there's a contract dispute, because Joe Hayden is entering the last year of his contract. He's about to hit 30. So there's always the possibility that, you know, he could not resign next year, which is very possible. You know, this very well could be the last season that he is in the black and gold, man. Who really knows? But that's why we go after someone like Byron Murphy, who we can develop to replace Hayden and start opposite of Steven Nelson. When Hayden eventually leaves or retires or whatever.
Right.
Now,
and plus the Steelers may be looking to keep the secondary younger.
And why not? You know, Byron Murphy, man, honestly has all the tools to be a great cornerback for the Steelers.
Absolutely.
Man. He reminds me of an old school, old-fashioned Steelers defensive back, man. Someone who is physical as hell, great ball skills, man. You know, can lay the big hit. Can pick off the ball. He's a decent ball hawk.
Yeah, seriously. If you ask me, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Joe Hayden himself.
I can see it. You know, I actually like that comparison, man. Seriously. Only much more physical. Now, my only issue with Byron Murphy, though, is his tackling. You know, I feel like he could definitely work on his tackling a little bit. I think that he doesn't really put too much effort into his tackling. That might be just me. I just feel like that he tries to deliver the big hit instead of actually finishing the play and finishing the tackle.
Right, but I think when he comes into the NFL, he'll evaluate more into tackling instead of hitting.
Right, and that's where we can develop him at, of course, because, you know, he would not be thrown in as the number one and number two day one, obviously, because of the signing of Steven Nelson, which is a good thing, and that's the great thing for Byron Murphy. And honestly, it's not like he would be sitting on the bench or anything, because I'm sure the Steelers will find many uses for him, maybe on special teams, maybe rotate him and Nelson or him and Hayden, or put him in the slot, maybe rotate him and Hilton to get his feet wet, maybe put him at the dime. You know, we can do many things with Byron Murphy, man, seriously. You know, outside of you know, our other opponents and everything, but look at the AFC North mostly. Look at the Browns receivers.
Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry.
That alone. Then you have A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd just stepping up, but A.J. Green mostly. You know, before we got Joe Hayden, man, he pretty much torched us every meeting we had. And then the Ravens, you know, they don't really have a receiver or anything.
But more than likely, they will go after a receiver in the draft.
Right.
And that could be like an A.J. Brown, N'Keal Harry, Hakeem Butler, guys like that.
Yeah, you know, they can go after, you know, whomever, man. You know, the receiving core is so stacked this upcoming draft class that
they're bound just to get any good receiver.
Yeah, they're bound to get a star, man, seriously. And also, you can't forget their tight end duo, you know, with Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews and everything. So,
right, of course.
You know,
so when it comes to AFC North and their receivers, you know,
and our other opponents in general,
right. We need to get some key players and playmakers on our defense, specifically at the defensive back position.
Right, we need depth. We need to stack the secondary in the cornerback position. And I feel like that's where Byron Murphy would apply that perfectly.
Now, with the 52nd overall pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Deebo Samuel, wide receiver from South Carolina.
Yes. So we get receiver here. This guy would pretty much apply depth first of all, but can clearly move up in the depth chart and eventually become that number 2, number 3, or whatever. The great thing about him is that the Steelers, you know how the Steelers love to use their receivers, man. They love to put them inside and out. We did it with AB. We're doing it with Juju. We're doing it with Washington. We did it with many of the receivers we had in the past. So
Deebo Samuel is very versatile. He can play inside and out. He's a very talented receiver.
Yeah.
Just that the only thing that me and Danny do not like about him is that he has serious injury concerns.
Yeah, man. That's really his only major red flag, man, is his injuries fucking, irritate the shit out of us. It really does. I mean, that's the only flaw. That's the only drive away from Deebo Samuel. Outside of that, man, this guy is a fucking baller. This guy can fucking ball, man. He's actually quick. He's got decent size for wide receiver. He pretty much has the ideal size for a common or a modern wide receiver, I guess. He's physical as all hell. He's got impressive fucking crazy hands, man. The catches this guy makes is crazy.
His route running is very good, but it definitely can get better.
Right, and his yak yardage is crazy as well. The Steelers love those yak yardage receivers. Juju alone speaks for himself.
Yeah, another key weapon to this already stacked wide receiver position for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yes, and outside of his injuries, this guy's a baller. I feel
he really is. I feel like with Daryl Drake, I think he'll toughen him up.
Maybe.
I really think Daryl Drake can do that because he did that with a lot of receivers,
right, but
especially Larry.
It's not just Daryl Drake, man, and I'm not taking anything away from Daryl Drake, but it's just the way we develop receivers, man. It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
It really is.
Deebo Samuel could be another guy on that long list of positive receivers that we develop. So,
right
now with the 66th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Blake Cashman, inside linebacker out of Minnesota. Man, this is honestly a big sleeper here. I feel like Blake Cashman is someone that's definitely going under the radar, someone that is not being talked about a lot. And I feel like this is a guy that can come in and, not really necessarily be a day one starter because Mark Barron can start and then he can eventually build his way up and eventually come into that starting role.
Right, of course.
But Blake Cashman is a guy that can definitely open a lot of eyes. It's someone that is very underrated in this draft class, seriously. I'd honestly rank him one of the best inside linebackers in this draft class, really.
Yeah, really. The guy's versatile. The guy's got nice speed, good strength. He actually used to play safety, so he has good coverage skills.
Yes, he came out of high school as safety, and then he just switched positions to inside linebacker,
and he is a very good tackler too.
He is just a strong, explosive, very aggressive, very dependable tackler, man. And like you say, he's got great coverage skills because he used to be a safety. He has insane speed. He has the speed that we need at inside linebacker, the sideline speed that we need. Like we said, he has great tackling ability. He sheds off blocks like it's fucking nuttin'. He's phenomenal in the run support. This guy, like we said, he wouldn't really be the day one starter immediately, but someone that can definitely build his way up and develop, and we can develop and be the eventual starter and honestly be damn good at it. Someone that's really flying under the radar a lot and someone that can open a lot of eyes with the right development, with the right coaches. Honestly, we could have that.
Yeah.
We could have that, man. So I think Blake Cashman would be a very nice solution inside linebacker with his speed, covering ability, his run support, all that shit.
Yeah, really.
And he's got some decent height to him as well. So Blake Cashman would be very nice inside linebacker in my opinion, man. Big sleeper.
Absolutely.
Watch out for him.
Now with the 83rd overall pick in 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Justice Hill, running back from Oklahoma State.
Yeah, so we go running back here, and it's pretty much inevitable that the Steelers are going to go running back at some point in the draft, whether that's early, whether that's late. Who really knows at this point?
Yeah, because when it comes to pre-draft visits for the Steelers, the position that they're really looking at the most is running back.
Yeah.
And I really, really like that.
Yes, whether that would be a loud-ass motorcycle, whether that's, Miles Sanders, whether that's Mike Weber. I think they looked at, what's his name? Jordan Scarlett, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. So they looked at a ton of running backs. And honestly, I don't see why they wouldn't look at Justice Hill because he was obviously teammates with James Washington and Mason Rudolph back at Oklahoma State, two guys that we drafted pretty much back-to-back last year. So I don't see why the Steelers wouldn't be interested in this guy. And this is a guy that can come in and be a great number 2, number 3 guy, pretty much conclude and finish our running back position and be a hell of a player, a great versatile player for our running game. Someone that can come in, split reps with Connor and Samuels, someone that we can use as a receiver, someone who is just so fast and so strong and so elusive. It's crazy. It's crazy, man.
It really is.
So
him being a part of this running back core for the Steelers would really, really help us a lot when it comes to running the ball.
Right, and of course, I think we stated this before. When Mason Rudolph eventually steps in as a starter, he would feel so much comfortable because he actually has guys that he can depend on and has chemistry with. So, guys like James Washington, of course, and Justice Hill. So he would be pretty much set, honestly. He would be comfortable, he wouldn't be pressured, he wouldn't have to worry about, all that other shit. He has guys that he can definitely depend on, the guys he already knows. So I feel like that would just be another bonus with the drafting of Justice Hill. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Yeah. So, with the 122nd pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Ben Banogu, edge out of TCU. This is a guy that we can draft and put at outside linebacker, whether we want to rotate him with the pre or wide or whatever. He can start on special teams, of course. And now, unless he has a hell of a year, unless he actually and finally breaks out, I don't see Bud Dupree returning with the Steelers, or unless we trade him. Who fucking knows? But I don't see Bud Dupree returning with the Steelers after this upcoming season. I think he is done after this upcoming season. And I feel like Ben Banogu is a guy that we can draft, and we have actually shown interest in him as well. So someone who actually has some nice speed to him. He had a very impressive combine, nice speed, good strength. He's very athletic. He's a guy that can, he's a great edge rusher. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Banogu. There's something about him that throws me off, but he is a guy that we can definitely develop and everything. And when Dupree eventually gets traded or
gets cut or whatever, really,
Yeah, he's a guy that can come in and battle. Or battle for that starting outside linebacker spot opposite T.J. Watt.
Now, with the 141st pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Isaac Nauta, tight end from Georgia.
Yeah, so we get tight end here. We get our number 2 tight end, and we put Isaac Nauta in a few mocks in the past. That was pre-combine. We were insanely high on Isaac Nauta, but his 40 really, really turned us away and was very, very underwhelming and very disappointing. However, man, although he had a very slow 40, something about him as a receiver, man. Now, he's not the most explosive receiver. He's not really the most dependable receiver. He's not a number 1. He's definitely not a number 1. He'd be a phenomenal number 2 because he's a great blocker. He's a guy that can definitely come in and get them short yardage receptions or whatever. He can be a nice goal line blocker, goal line, receiver or whatever. But it seems like every time this guy got the ball at Georgia, man, some sort of magic happened.
Yeah, seriously. Despite his speed, when he g's the ball, he can make shit happen.
Yeah,
it's. And I think I stated this in one mock. He reminded me of a more receiving Matt Spaeth. Because Spaeth was very slow, but he was nothing more but a great blocker and a decent receiver. I think Nauta can be a more receiving Matt Spaeth for the Steelers.
I can see that, or a slower Jesse James.
Yeah, really.
A much better receiving Jesse James. Because my issue with Jesse James is that although he had decent speed, decent blocking ability, decent hands, man, it's just every time he got the ball in his hands, every time like on them flats or whatever, he would be too soft. It's like
he was
motherfucker was afraid to make some contact.
Yeah, he was never aggressive. When it came to get more yards and everything.
Whether Isaac Nauta is the complete fucking opposite, man. Someone who's physical, like is great in the rack yards, man. He actually reminds me a lot of Vince McDonald when it comes to him getting the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Fighting for extra yardage. He's very rough, very aggressive. Again, he's not the fastest guy, clearly. His speed really is very underwhelming. But he is a decent blocker, which is where we'll use him mostly, but is a guy that can be a secret weapon at receiver. Now, with the 175th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Ugo Amadi, defensive back out of Oregon, man. This guy is pretty much a depth pick at safety or corner or whatever because he can play both. He can play corner and safety. We'll probably use him at corner mostly free safety. He can be the great backup free safety. Obviously, he'll get his feet wet and special teams and everything, where I think he'll thrive mostly. But honestly, this guy's a big sleeper still. Although his height really isn't ideal at the safety position, he is honestly a hell of a player. He has great ball hawk skills, decent tackling ability. He is just crazy fucking explosive, honestly. Very good in coverage. You know, I feel like this guy and would start in special teams. I really would not sleep on him to eventually possibly build his way up into a potential starting role or a great rotational role.
Yeah, because
in our defense.
Yeah, we show an incredible interest in Amadi.
Yeah,
and I can see why. The guy's a hell of a talent. He really is.
He really is, man, and a big sleeper, honestly. And I really wouldn't be surprised if the Steelers draft him to add depth at safety, but depth at special teams mostly. But I really wouldn't sleep on him to build his way up on this defense.
Yeah. Now with the 192nd pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Ben Burr-Kirven, inside linebacker from Washington.
Yeah, so we go another inside linebacker here, and honestly, why not?
Well, basically, he can be a depth guy. He's a guy that can really take L.J. Fort's spot, really, since he signed a 3-year deal with the Eagles.
Right.
He's a guy that can really start off, obviously, in special teams as a depth guy, probably battle with Matakavage and everything.
Right.
Ben Burr-Kirven, guy's very underrated himself.
Right.
Decent tackling ability. He's got good speed, good strength.
Good covering ability.
Yeah, just like I said, he could probably take the L.J. Fort role, really.
Yeah, but I really want to sleep on him to potentially build his way up because he's actually decent. He's actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
He's another good inside linebacker weapon that we could definitely go after if both Devins are gone or if Mac Wilson's gone or whatever. We got many options inside linebacker if both Devins are gone or depending on how the draft goes. Gary Johnson is one of them. David Long, like we said.
LaShawn Joseph, possibly.
Maybe Blake Cashman, but I've heard the Steelers haven't shown too much interest in him, so I'm not sure. The only issue about Blake Cashman, I should have said this when we announced the pick, is he did have double shoulder surgery last season, which is an issue. His shoulders and his injuries is really the only throw. He's kind of like Deebo Samuel, where his injuries are the only throw off, but he's still an explosive player.
Now with the 207th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Deonte Johnson, wide receiver from Toledo.
Yeah, man, this would pretty much we doubled up on receiver here, and this would pretty much be depth, honestly. But honestly, I really wouldn't sleep on Deonte Johnson. I feel like he's a guy that could, not necessarily make the roster immediately because of how much depth we have at receiver, but this is a guy that can come into his second year, possibly take over that Eli Rogers role, be the nice backup slot guy. And honestly, if we want to, we could experiment him at returning because he's actually a pretty decent returner. We could give some competition to Ryan Switzer, or maybe he can start opposite of Ryan Switzer as a returner. So. And speaking of depth pick, with the 219th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Chris Slayton, defensive tackle out of Syracuse. This would just pretty much be depth out of the defensive line. I wouldn't sleep on Slayton either, but this is nothing but depth. That's all it is. It's kind of like what was his name from last year? He's the dude we drafted from Alabama.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Man, I'm having a massive brain fart. What the fuck was? Oh, Joshua Frazier.
There we go.
That's pretty much what this pick would be. Although Slayton has a better chance of making a roster, honestly.
Right, a guy that can really battle with Dana McCullers and everything.
Right, but
just to make the roster or practice squad or whatever, really. Well, anyway, guys, that's the end of the mock draft. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. We will definitely be back with another mock draft very soon. Keep an eye out for that, as well as another vlog coming. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, give us your opinions in the comments below. We'll see you guys later on. Like, comment, subscribe. See you later.
Peace!